lost secrets of ancient wisdom teachings is that geometry is vibration. Geometry is a visual representation, a structural manifestation of vibration. The function of proteins, the function of DNA, it's all based on this geometry. These waves are around us, but they need to be tuned in order to be something that we can appreciate. So the tuning comes into what we call shape power. The shape of the pyramid is a natural funnel out of stone in which it captures these waves and it starts making them spin, because it's like a fluid that spins inside the pyramid. People that are esoteric priests trained in these mystery schools, they're going to see light inside the pyramid. When you concentrate that energy into one area, you get profound healing effects. So the Russian studies on the pyramids have shown that you can get rid of cancer, diabetes, all known diseases, mental health problems. You get more rainfall, you get a decrease in thunderstorms. Those are clues, the trail of breadcrumbs that ultimately leads us back to some greater vibratory force, which is consciousness.
Hi guys, this is Brigitte, and I'm sitting here today with Guy Taylor, who is a hypnotherapist, a spiritual healer, and you also work with a healing pyramid.
That's right. Yep. So I do.
So how did you get into becoming a hypnotherapist and a spiritual healer?
Right. Well, the spiritual healer side of it started back in about 2006. I had been in the printing industry for about 25 years, and I had experienced, I used to do a particular kind of process that over the years, you know, you get the repetitive strain thing in it, and I had a problem with my neck and shoulder, and every so often it would flare up and it was very painful. And I was told about a lady in a town near where I used to live who was a spiritual healer. Well, I'd always been kind of open to things. So I thought, okay, well, let's give it a go and see what happens. So basically I went to make an appointment with this lady, and I saw her once a month for about 6 months, and gradually this discomfort, which was very uncomfortable at times, went, and it never came back. On the last meeting that I was with her, we'd become quite good friends over that 6 months and that. And I said, you know, Jan, it must be amazing to do what you do. And she said to me, well, you could do it. And because I looked at her and went, really? You know, that's cool. So she said, yeah. She said, well, I'll do a little test. So on a little desk that she had in her therapy room, she put her forearm on the desk, and she said, okay, put your hand on the desk. On the arm, sorry. So I said, okay. She said, after about 30 seconds, she said to me, what can you feel? So I said, do you know, it's really hot, like I'm putting my hand up against an oven door, but I'm not burning it. She said, good. So then all of a sudden she goes, right, now I want you to hold my thumb. And I went, right, okay. So I held her thumb, and again after about 30 seconds, she said, well, what can you feel? And I'm thinking, this is weird, you know, really weird. I said, well, actually, I can feel a very faint pulse, but it's freezing cold. And she gave me a great big smile, and she said, Guy, I dislocated that 8 years ago. And I went, she said, you could do this. And I went, oh, I really want to do this, you know. So fortunately, I was very lucky to be one of 8 people that she chose the following year to be trained to do spiritual healing, which I did over nearly a year. Very intense it was, once a week, and you were doing lots of practicing and whatever else, you know. But finished in the October time, and it was great, and I thought, oh, this is really good now. And for some reason or other, I didn't get going with it. Don't ask me why, but I didn't, not initially, until I went out through her, another connection. I went out in the January to Brazil to see John of God.
What was that?
In 2008. And I went for 3 weeks.
So who is John of God?
He is actually, that's the English translation of this healer in Brazil who travels all around the world, and he does psychic surgery, and he does various forms of, you know, amazing stuff. But I went out there to see him because from what Jan had told me and she had seen and what she felt when she went there, I thought, you know, I really got to do this.
Yeah.
So going out there, and went out there for 3 weeks with and met up with some lovely people, and people from all over the world. I met there from Japan, obviously America, South America, all over Europe. At the end of the 3 weeks, after some really quite amazing experiences I had out there, when I got back, I decided that, okay, now it's time to kick this into going. I need to start going with this. So I met this guy who I tracked down through the organisation that I'd been trained with, and he was only about 20 odd miles away. And I met up with him and went down there and started practicing what I'd been taught with Jan. That during the time that I was there was a little bit of unrest within the organisation, and I ended up, the next thing was of being interviewed to see if I would teach these people to become healers, after having proved to them that the knowledge that I got was sufficient enough to, you know. So I did. And in 2009, it was around Christmas time, and I had been regularly doing once a month at a Mind, Body and Spirit fair, the healer section that I was going there. Used to work with a lovely old gentleman called Laurie. I don't know if he's still around now, but he was an amazing healer. We worked together, and one day a medium friend of mine said, you need to go and visit that gentleman over there. And I went, okay, why? She said, just go and see him. So, okay, fair enough. So I went over to him, and he had this really nice table of some amazing crystals on there. And in particular, these ones, the ones that I have now started to work with was the start of my journey, called etheric weavers. And I said to him, what are these? And he told me what they were.
Yeah, what are these? What's the difference between a normal crystal and a weaver crystal?
Well, an etheric weaver crystal is one that is, it's the double pointed, and it's laser cut to the specific angles of the Earth, Sun and the Moon, 51 degrees, which is the same dimensions that the Egyptian pyramids were on it. They are formulated around that. They're double pointed, so they can take in and they can bring out energy. And they have two very small, called neodymium magnets on them, which are the most powerful. Any people that are scientists or, you know, who are in physics will know that they're very, very powerful magnets. Probably the most powerful magnets you can get on the planet. And they are flanked either side, one to put either side of this quartz crystal, and it's wrapped in either a gold-filled wire, a silver wire, or a copper wire. And that they work on various levels. The copper being much the earthbound metal of the ones, but interestingly enough, was the one for me that he had a few of those out there this day, and I was very drawn to this beautiful emerald green one. Well, I picked it up, and as soon as I picked it up, it was like a helicopter blade. It just went crazy, you know, and he was quite taken aback with this. And I said to him, something going on here? He went, yeah. He said, I haven't seen that before. He said, I think you would be fair to say that you're quite connected to work with those. And after some discussion with him, I decided that I would buy one of these. Because first of all, he said to me, well, they are quite expensive. And I went, okay, right. So I thought, doesn't matter, I feel that I need to buy one of these. So I bought this one, took it home.
And what did you do with it? Well, what do you do with it?
Well,
can you just hold it in your hands?
No.
Okay.
Well, you can hold it in your hand. But basically, one of these things, you can do self-healing, you can meditate with them, there's a whole host of things you can do, like you can do healing on other people, you can do healing on animals, which is a story that I'll tell you about in a second, but you can use it for purifying water, you can use it for working on food, distant healing, photographs of people, places, even clear energy spaces that are maybe not that nice, well, they just need stuff removing. So there are all these things. This is only a few things really that you can use them for, and they are just amazing tools to work with. I found that over the years, with my experiences, you're discovering all the time what things that you can do and how they can help you just in your life. You know, they get to know you. You almost form a relationship with them. You know?
Give it a name, right?
Yeah, you can give it a name. And it will. And the thing is, the more you work with it, the more it gets to know you. You get to know. You have a really good connection with them. And I mentioned to you a little earlier saying about working with animals. The day after I got it, it was around Christmas time, and we used to live in this little cottage where we had what I would call the biggest, most expensive dog kennel in the world built on the back.
Yeah.
And it was a brick and wood built conservatory where we had 4 very large dogs. Yeah. They were all animal rescue ones, but the one of them was called Barney, and he was like a bear, really. You know, he was just, but he used to love hands-on healing. Mm. But I tried this weaver, and I thought, I'm going to give him a go with this tomorrow. But as it happened overnight, for some reason or other, this particular dog, when I got up in the morning, went down to give them their morning breakfast, he actually, overnight, one of his paws on his front leg had swollen up to the size of my fist, and he couldn't stand on it. Mm. When I looked at it, we couldn't see any infection. There was nothing that appeared to be any reason why it had done it. It just that he couldn't stand it. So he couldn't go out for his morning walk with his boys. Didn't, you know, just wasn't too impressed with that. And I just said to my wife, I said, look, you know, I'm going to try this weaver out on him. I want to see what this does, you know. Yep. So, you know, Barney being Barney, he just loved his healing. So he laid down, he looked at this thing moving around for a few minutes, big sigh, put his head down, gone. And I started working, and I learned through him how to work around the body using the weaver, realising that at every point it gets to, if it starts to move on that point, you actually stay on that point until it's finished working. Right. If you try to pull away from it before it's finished, you can feel an energy force pulling you back to that point till it's finished.
That's amazing.
It is. Yeah. And so I got to this leg where the problem paw was, and this weaver just went crazy for about 10 minutes, going this way, that way. No movements that I was doing. It was purely working under its own volition. I was just holding it, you know, and it was going to, but it went on, and it was about 10 or 15 minutes it worked on it. So then we went out, the other boys came back from their walk, and we decided we'd go and do some Christmas shopping. I was going out for about 5 hours. When I came back, we went in the usual way to the house, and there they all were, sitting in the conservatory, and there's Barney wagging his tail like, you know, and he's bouncing up and down like a 2-year-old on his paw that he couldn't even stand on earlier that morning, and I promise you, the swelling had completely gone, and it never came back. And in the afternoon, he was running around the fields with his brothers like a 2-year-old. And it was amazing. But that was just one of the animal things he'd done, you know. I think, to be truthful, what I would say, Brigitte, is that the experience of working with them, you discover how to work with them. They even give you ideas on how to work. You know, I've had people that have bought these and said, you know, please, 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 don't buy it and put it away in a drawer. It's silly, you know, they do so much with them. And I said, have you ever thought about weavering inside your car before you go out? And they're going, why? I said, well, how much bad energy is there in your car? You know, the kids, somebody cutting you up, you know, kind of. So just lighten the load before you go out.
How'd you put it under your pillow when you go to sleep?
You could, well, you could, you could do that, and you could probably find that you'd probably have a really good night's sleep, you know. But yeah, they are. I have no regrets about working with them, and the way that first buying that first one, which I still have, and I would never sell because it was the start of my journey with all these things. It's taken me on some fantastic journeys, and the people who've experienced being in the pyramid just are so. They come away scratching their head, thinking, "Why do I feel so good?" You know, because I've never felt like this before. You know, and certainly some of the people that I've done distant healing with in the photograph, especially quite recently, have come back and said, I just felt this going on when, you know, all of a sudden I felt like this, then I felt like that, and then all of a sudden I felt warm all over, and then whatever it was just went, you know. And I'm saying, it's good, isn't it, you know?
So instead of having like a normal crystal, you know, like a rough crystal, like an amethyst or any other one, this one, the weaver is really cut to precision.
It is, totally. People have said to me, oh, well, yeah, you could make one of those. And I said, yes, you could make one of those, but you couldn't make it like that. And the reason I say that is because they're, how would I put it, they're a blessed tool. You can't just manufacture one of these, in my opinion, and do what you can do with these. They are very, very special. I know from over the years, and people have said about, well, we could put a pyramid together. Yes, you can put and a pyramid is good. I recommend anybody to have a pyramid because they are the most powerful healing structure on the planet.
Oh,
I mean,
so, so how did you get into pyramid, to working with the pyramid?
Well, when I got my first weaver,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a bit of information with it, and I
Yes.
started to read about it,
Yep.
and then I contacted the Shambhala Healing Centre down
Yep.
in Glastonbury,
Mm-hmm.
and I talked to a very nice, what they call Annies down there, and Annies are nuns, and then, so I spoke to this Annie Vivian, and I told her what had happened and everything else, and I said, I would like to actually, can I buy a set of these? I said, I don't know why, but I've got this thing, I need to buy a set of these. She said, of course you can. You know.
Wait, there were nuns?
Yeah, they're kind of not nuns that you would think of in the context of how we see over here.
Right.
They're called Annies, A-N-I, which is the equivalent of being like a nun, as
Yeah.
a kind of like
Yep.
a disciple of Shambhala, if you like.
Okay.
It is just a form of the way of living,
Mm-hmm.
and a way that they all enjoy, and obviously with relation to this working with all these wonderful tools that they make and everything else. And the reason that I found out about the pyramids is because when I went to see my first visit down in Glastonbury, lo and behold, there was this pyramid, and I'm saying to her, what is this, you know? And she said, it's a healing pyramid.
Yeah.
And I said, well, which one is this? And she said, because I could see there was. She said, this is called an ascension pyramid. I went, okay. So she said, why don't you sit in it? And I went, okay. Right. So, I mean, I'm always up for try anything, you know.
Yeah.
But I sat in it, and I really thought this was like I'd just been plugged into the universe.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, wow, this is really, amazing. If only I could have one of these and work with the weavers as well. I mean, it would not just be about having a really nice healing with a weaver, but this would be like amplified. So I decided to bite the bullet, and I decided that I'd get a pyramid. And yeah, it wasn't cheap, but that beside the point. It was the fact that I was being kind of led down a new path
Yes.
of working, and I knew that this was the right thing for me to do. And I gainfully took it home, couldn't wait to get home, all these boxes in the car and setting it up in the therapy room at home. Yeah, I started doing this healing work started off with friends actually, and then it progressed. Friends told people who I didn't know, and people started coming to have healing sessions in the pyramid. You know, and again, people who were a kind of a like-minded persuasion in terms of healing, but different. They did different therapies and stuff, but all coming with the same thing and coming to the same conclusion. Wow, this is ancient, old, seriously good, whatever. And in the process of working with these pyramids, I went back down to Glastonbury again. I think I was taking some people down there for a visit. And whilst I was there, I came across this thing called a Metatron star. Some of them call it the Shambhala star, some call it the Metatron star. Now, this particular thing is like what I would call a scaled down version of a pyramid. And as much as it's a six-pointed star, and it's got geometric forms on the ends of it, but it's flanked all the way around with rainbow coloured crystals, with the magnets in there, but in the centre is the Ascension Pyramid, tiny one. And the thing is, I got my mum, bless her, she's now passed over, but my mum decided she was going to buy that for me. I got this, and I found that I could use it with people who weren't well enough to come to me. I could take it to them in their own home, which was lovely. And in one particular instance, there was a lady who lived in an old, what they call Sinkport town called Rye in East Sussex, not far from where I used to live. And a medium friend of mine had said, can you go and see this lady? Because I feel that she could really benefit from your help. And I went, okay. So I took this down there to her, and I talked to her for a little while. She was a lovely lady, and she had, unfortunately, bless her, she had really bad arthritis in her hands. So bad, in fact, that she could hardly hold a pen to write. And it was getting to be like all of her body was starting to go in the same direction with joints and that. So I said, well, this is what we're going to use, and this is what I'm going to do. Are you okay with this? And she said, oh, absolutely fine. I well, basically, when she used to hold a pen, she had to almost grab it. She couldn't do it like you can do with fingers anymore, like you hold a pen. And when she was working, when she was trying to write, literally, obviously she knew her name, but she couldn't write her name. It was just one scraggly line.
Oh, bless her.
And and I really, it was very emotional for me to watch it, because she was really struggling with it. I did this treatment with her, and the first one, and about 3 days later, she rang me up. She said, Guy, I've got to tell you something. Got to tell you something. I said, what? She said, something wonderful's happened. I went, okay. She said, I'll tell you on Friday when you come. I went, oh, really? You know, so I had to wait. Had to wait until Friday. When I got there, absolutely, I nearly burst into tears, Brigitte, because it was so emotional. She was so happy. She actually showed me after that one treatment how she had been able to write her name with a pen, and it wasn't just a scraggly line, and she could read it. And I just said, wow, Edith, that is just fabulous. She said, thank you so much.
So she could hold the pen properly?
She could hold the pen properly, and she could write her name. Obviously still a bit shaky, but considering what she had before, I mean, it was just absolutely mind-blowing. And I was just absolutely, I almost wanted to cry because I was so happy for her, you know.
Did you give her another session?
Yeah, she ended up having about 6 sessions in the end.
Wow.
And overall, she said her whole mobility was getting better and everything else, but unfortunately it stopped after about the 6th time. I think there was pressures, internal family pressures of some description that caused that to, you know, to stop, which was a shame because she was really loving it. She really, and she was doing so well.
I mean, you know, the pyramid healing is ancient. It's thousands and thousands of years old.
Is,
the Egyptians used it, and it was very much aligned with, you know, the sun, the stars. Sun, stars, the moon. Yes,
that's right.
That's it.
That's it. You got it. Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, they built it with such precision. They did. Yeah. And you know, for me, when I mean, I got very emotional under it. Yeah. But I couldn't feel part of my body. It's just really powerful. You sit in it and you can feel the energy drawing down.
I have this place that I joke with everybody. That I say to them, oh, yeah, you've been off to St Elsewhere then, have you?
Yeah, exactly.
And it is, and they go, yeah, this is really, you know, but it's just the feeling of seeing people's reactions afterwards, and it was obviously lovely to see yours. You don't get blasé about it because it is such a privilege to work with that and to see people's response to it. And even when they start to email you and say, you know, and even if it was distant healing, as has happened recently with me, of people that I've worked on come back and say, wow, thank you so much, I can't tell you. And you feel very humble. I feel very privileged. I mean, working with these guys, you know, it's just what it is off the planet. But, you know, but that said, I mean, wow, I am just so privileged to work with all of this, and I don't take any of it for granted. And I feel as time goes on, the more I work with it, the more I get to know, and the more I'm able to do, and the more I'm able to understand people.
Well, it realigns you pretty much to the grid. Yeah. That's what it does.
Yeah. It's, you see, every individual is different. Now, when I do little workshops, which is really funny, I get a bit of a giggle out of it because if I get sit people in a circle, and I say, okay, now you've chosen, I want you to choose one of these weavers. Yeah. And they kind of look at it, and they look at one another, you know, and I say, it's all right, they don't bite, you know. but it's interesting to see their reaction. You have somebody and they'll be sitting there and they'll be holding one like this, and they'll be had their hand there, and it's going like this, you know, it's really silly. And then you've got somebody next to you and they're kind of like scratching their ball. Mine's only doing a silly little thing like that, or it's just, you know. And I say, please don't be concerned because the person next to you is about to go in the lift off, because I said, every one of you is different.
Yes.
The weaver is getting to know you as it's tuning into you. And however your magnetic, your meridian lines are, whatever, it's tuning in. Everybody is different, so it takes a while to adjust for it to tune into. But have patience because they do, you know. And I said, and if they go really, really crazy, like they, you know, like you think you're going to do a Mary Poppins outfit disguise sort of thing, I said, you can grab hold of them and just choose, sort of slow down and start again. It's all right, it's fine. They don't worry about that. It's fine. Also, when you do what I call it isn't a party trick, but I call it that. It's doing the water trick. Is when you give them a glass of water and they say, oh, take a sip of that. You know, they drink the water. Okay, now remember how it tastes. Yeah, okay. And then either I will weaver it or I get them to do it. But for argument's sake, I'll say I do it.
And you just hold it above the water.
I just and it moves around and it moves around. And then I just dip the tip of the that's just me. I just tip it in there, and I go, okay, give that a try. And it's really wonderful to see the expression on their faces. Can they go, that wasn't what I just drank? And I'm going, actually, yes, it was, but no, it isn't. You know, because it's changed. And I said, you know, it feels, and the one word that always comes to mind is, it feels smooth. Almost like I can't feel that I'm drinking it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I know. It's good, isn't it? You know, and it's fun. And the nice thing is doing these workshops with people who want to learn more about them and even want to progress with them. It's so nice because you can have fun with it, and it's not serious stuff, but it's very important. And as they get to know how to use them and everything else, you can just see them go, this is really great. I'm loving this, you know, sort of thing.
Well, you know, I always see it as this. We're all energy, so you're working with energy.
Yeah.
So of course it's going to affect you.
Yeah.
And you can change it. You know, it's funny. I always compare energy with like when people take a shower.
Yeah.
You know, it steams up.
Yeah.
And you waft your hand through it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very That's a good very good comparison. It is.
That's a good one to remember.
It is. Yes. I'll put that in there. Yeah, make a note of that one. I think the thing is, what I also like, when I started going into healing, I loved to read the old books about the old healers. It's like reading about old friends and the Harry Edwards of this world and the Edward Frickers and you know, and many others that were in there, and it's fascinating reading. But for me, one of the really humbling things, and it's a real privilege to have this comment come back, when you've worked on healers that you know are very good in their own field and have been established for a long time, and they have they're well respected in their field, when they come in and have a go in the pyramid and come away and go, wow, guy, that was really something else, I've never experienced that before, then you know you've nailed it, for want of a better way. Anything I can do to help with, you know, with this setup, you know, I will do. I mean, the lady that I did some distance healing on in Lanzarote, she said to me, she used to have a lot of connections with the armed forces and services years and years ago. And she said, you know, with what I experienced, even from what I had, she said, I think that, you know, for people that have been out in war-torn situations to come back that are emotionally, mentally scarred, all these kind of things, to be able to go into something like that and help them to draw out stuff that they really need to get rid of, you could do so much with it. And I'm kind of working on that theory now as well, of being in contact with certain organisations to see if something can come of that.
That would work, because the difference is, you know, when we talk about Reiki or spiritual healing and any other type of healing, this is very tangible because you're sitting in that energy, you're sitting in that pyramid.
Yes, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I never knock anybody else's methods that they use of healing, because there is a place for them. But you're quite right, Gita, when you say about something tangible. Sometimes if people can actually be in something and they can feel, and they're thinking, well, actually, you know, I'm feeling this energy coming up through me, sort of thing, you know, and I'd say to them, what you're receiving today is solely for you. Yes. It is meant for you. At that time, you're getting exactly what you need at that time. I'm hoping that this year, partner passed away last year, and one thing that came to me was that it's like I had this vision, and you know, relating to you were saying about the stars earlier on, everything else, I had this vision, and it was like my deceased partner almost saying, this is all yours now. And it was like there was a silhouette horizon, and there was kind of like mountains either side, and there was a light aura on the horizon, and this tiny little figure, and he's looking up at the sky, and the whole universe is there, and you can see billions and billions of stars. And the message I got back was, guys, it's all yours now. Go
it is.
You know, I mean, it makes you emotional even talking about it, to be truthful. But I know it's so special. Yes. And I know I've got a lot to do with it, to work with it. You know, I don't mind where I go. No. I've come to that conclusion now that for me to have a statutory place in terms of a big place is not what I'm about. Yes, I have a small therapy room at my house, which works in the context when it's meant to work at that time. But I have a feeling that I'm going to be pretty much on my travels with this, and
which is good.
It's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I guess people can contact you via your website.
They can.
Yes.
Yes, that's www.healingintent.co.uk.
Yes.
I have an email address as well on there, and it's constantly being rejigged, my website at the moment, by a very dear friend of mine, where things were a little dormant before. You know, now I seem to have gone onto overdrive and
which is good. Which is good.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I also found that I'm developing a technique with it at the moment where I can use hypnotherapy.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. So how does that come together?
Well, you see, the thing is, I had this theory that because of the way the pyramid works in terms of calming somebody down,
yeah.
and you can see their breathing and everything else, in a very short space of time, the pyramid the way that it works can calm you down incredibly so. Yeah. Using the pyramid, people could say, well, you know, if you're a good hypnotherapist, you can get them down anyway. That's not wrong. But in the context of being able to do that much more with them in the pyramid, because of the way it works with them, will make them far more be able to be gently taken in and worked with whilst they're in there and brought back again. It's a whole, to me, it's just a whole different way of using hypnotherapy to a level that I feel that they would definitely be comfortable with.
Well, you kill two birds in one stone. One, they're sitting in the pyramid.
Yeah.
It re-encodes their DNA because that's what it does.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you help them with whatever issue they have and clear that.
Yeah, and of course you see the working of the pyramid is, as we know, is it draws out old stuff.
It does.
Yeah, this is you're talking here now. But it draws out old stuff sometimes that people have suppressed for years. But in the process of it doing that, you can get that out through hypnosis, but you help that person as the hypnosis works to remove or to help with whatever the issue they've been struggling with. There's this very gentle form of replacement of whatever's been taken out is put back in. Yeah. That is the complete opposite, and that if anything, it's like you're being filled up with well-being.
Yeah.
You know, the power of well-being is going back into what that horrible whatever's been taken away through hypnosis, and with the power of the pyramid, it then gently puts back something to help that person. I think really for me it seems to have the desired effect, because we all know that the breathing is very, very important. The technique of breathing is very important with hypnosis in terms of taking that person to a very relaxed state.
Yeah.
But if you imagine taking somebody in that relaxed state, actually when they're in the pyramid, so that what they're receiving then is like almost an enhanced form of relaxation that is far more powerful than what you might normally have. Yeah, it is. Yeah, only designed in such a way that it works with pure energy.
Yeah.
And there's nothing from, how can I put it, pirates from the other side that can get in there and manipulate it. It's just not possible. It isn't possible. And
because it's built a certain way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's another key factor as well. The fact it's built in this particular angular structure, which makes it the most powerful healing structure on the planet.
And of course you have the weavers,
which are a scaled down version of that.
Yes.
They are. Yeah. The weavers are an incredible tool. Some people say, well, you know, they're just a pendulum. And actually, no, they're not just a pendulum.
No, that's like I said, if you understand that you are energy and that is energy, then
totally.
And I think people often don't understand, you know, are not aware, or they don't think about it.
No. And the more that I found that people do work with them, you know, I say, if you've got a you know, a problem, or you've got a question or something, ask me. If you buy one of these, you get the best out of it, because I said, you know, there's such a special thing to have. It would be pointless in buying one and then just putting it in a drawer and not using it.
No, exactly.
And because of what they are, and what they can do, and how they can seriously change your lives. So one of the actual testimonials on the back of the literature that I first read about the weavers was actually written by an American physician who had a friend who was dying, and he drove 800 miles to this particular hospital that he was at, and they virtually called in the last rites for this gentleman, whoever he was, and the hospital, wherever it was that this doctor went to, he actually had one of these weavers, and he used this weaver on this person who, as I say, had this last rites and that. And through the night, his condition started to improve, and it gradually got better and better and better, till at the end, the guy made a full recovery.
And what did the doctor say?
He just said, this was not down to medical skill. This was down purely to the power of this weavers. Yeah. To be honest with you, I think there's a place for this to work alongside the medical profession in whatever guise it takes. But equally, if a professional medic, doctor, can turn around and say, this was done purely with the power of this, because nothing else, they'd said nothing else could be done to help this guy. Yeah. Kind of begs the question, well, okay, so where can we go with this, you know?
Yeah.
And I do believe that in this day and age as well now, that with the hypnotherapy, the clinical hypnotherapy, and also it's not frowned upon now as kind of like, really, you know, another planet stuff, joking, but I mean, but it is. But it isn't. It is. It's being accepted more widely.
Yes,
things
slowly.
Like this, not fast enough, but should not be dismissed, because there is a place for it, and it's proven itself in its own right, and it's not detrimental to the person. The only time that we can't, I must make this point, the only time we can't use the weavers or even the pyramid on an individual is if that person has got a heart pacemaker or a defibrillator, because the magnets are so powerful they can trip them. It's unfortunate for those that have those things fitted, but that said, you know, in all other avenues.
However, you can send them distant healing.
Exactly, precisely right. You can do exactly that, because that's not going to affect it. No, it isn't. Absolutely right. So it's a win-win all round, really.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
You got any more workshops in the pipeline?
And I have got 1 or 2 workshops that I'm going to put together, but it won't be till around August time, when things are a little quieter, because the people who want to do them have said, you know, we will make time available, and I'm saying, well, it's looking like it's going to be August before I can do anything. That's fine. Just really want to just let us know when you're doing it, you know, which is lovely. It's really nice. Very humbling that, you know.
I'm guessing that's going to be on your website too.
Yeah, there will be. Yeah, they will be. It's, you know, I'm a bit of a dinosaur with IT, but hey, you know, I've got lots of helpers.
Do you have any last words of advice?
Gosh.
Wow. Oh dear.
You know, if you're not sure about something and your intuition says, give it a go, trust it. Because that's what I did. And all I can say is, if you decide you want to come to me and experience all about the weavers and the pyramids, I can say to you, hand on heart, you will be pleasantly surprised.
Yes, this is very true. Thank you. I'll give you a hug. Thank you,
Yeah.
Guy.